Hi, Greater Santa Cruz community. My name is James Ramsey. I am a second year from Merrill College, majoring in politics and hopefully history of art and visual culture. And I'm running to be your Commissioner of Diversity for the 2011-2012 academic year.
What is your definition of diversity?
Alright, for my personal definition of diversity, I feel like diversity is, it's kind of a metric for a community in terms of how many different identities make up that community. I feel like you can't really break diversity down into certain aspects. I mean, there's definitely certain key things to consider. For example, race, sexual identity, gender identity, cultural awareness. But in terms of each person comes from a different place. Each person comes from a different history and a different course. So certain people I know, for example, belong to one community. Like, say a person might be Asian, but they grow up in the U.S. and they don't really have all that much connection to their Asian cultural roots. I think that's something important in terms of diversity that we need to incorporate. So I guess in layman's terms, diversity is what the people of a certain community are identify themselves as.
There is currently a gap between minority students on campus and the Greater Santa Cruz community. What ideas do you have on how to bridge the gap and connect these two groups?
Alright, so this is a really interesting question. I think that there's actually two main kind of like tactics and things to bring about to use to solve this problem. Number one, I feel like we need to have more connection between the SUA and organizations on campus. We need to be able to have the SUA use its resources to help organizations get their name out and get their, cultural, gender identity, sexual identity, race, get whatever they identify themselves as, and get them advocating the outreach into the broader community more, using SUA resources and SUA advantages. Number two, I think the SUA really needs to take a stronger stance on ally awareness and ally education, because I feel like that there's a lot of obvious intolerance and racism on campus. I feel like a lot of it doesn't necessarily come from a point of hatred or a point of, obviously just like hatred towards other people, but comes from more lack of education about how different communities see themselves and how different communities identify. And SUA needs to take a stronger stance on ally education and program for that more.
As Commissioner of Diversity, what will you do differently than those who have previously held this position?
First of all, I think that every Commissioner of Diversity has done a great job with working with different communities, but I do think that in terms of the office, it stayed mainly around focusing on, like, let's say the big six ethnic orgs. It's focused around really organizing around the community that they belong to. And as Commissioner of Diversity, I really want to work with expanding the definition of diversity, not only bringing in race and sexual orientation, but also gender identity, also bringing in your religion, your cultural awareness, where you come from. So I feel like these are all important questions that are about diversity, and these are all important social questions for the United States and the state of California. And these are questions and identities and stuff that should really be brought up on the university-wide system and should be addressed within the scope of SUA that it really hasn't been done in the past, and I really want to focus on. Alright, so I guess for me, diversity has always been incredibly important. I identify as a Cherokee, Chinese, Caucasian, Christian, gay, student at UCSC, and for me, all of those specific, identities should be focused on and should be addressed in the broader scope of diversity. And I certainly feel like there's a lot of issues in terms of diversity on campus, and a lot of them fall in different, realms of, in different communities and different issues. And I feel like as a Commissioner of Diversity, you need to be able to go to any different community and really understand what they're saying. And as a multiracial and queer student, I feel like that gives me a very privileged position to be able to go into these communities and really listen to what they say, because I don't personally belong to any one. So I guess in terms of my closing statement, you should vote for me, because I want to address every issue. I don't just want to focus on a few main ones and then just kind of leave diversity. I really want to focus on incorporating the university's diversity and the university's true character. So thank you so much.